Now, this is the kind of headlines that hits you like a bolt out of the blue. An assassination attempt on Netanyahu. I mean, seriously? At first glance, it sounds like one of those Mossad manufactured plot twists to distract the world just when things are boiling over in Gaza. And let's be honest, Israel's intelligence service aren't exactly strangers to covert theatrics and well-timed distractions. The moment this story broke that a 70-something-year-old Israeli protester allegedly planned to assassinate Netanyahu using a rocket-propelled grenade, yes, an RPG, my first reaction was to laugh out loud. I mean, it's essentially funny. I mean, what? And when I paused, because as outrageous as it sounds, the more details started coming out, the more it became clear. This wasn't just some made-up distraction, nor was it your usual press puff. This was a rearrest. There is police intel, Shin Bet surveillance, and the woman who was reportedly fed up enough to want to take Netanyahu down with her literally. But timing, my friend, timing is everything, and that's where the suspicion still lingers, because just as this assassination plot dominated Israeli headlines, the real tragedy, the grotesque, heart-wrenching horror unfolding in Gaza began, slipping further down the news feed. And that right there is a real crime. As of now, 111 Palestinians have died from hunger at the time of recording this video. That's not counting the many others who will likely perish silently before any aid reached them. Among the dead are at least 80 children, their lives cut short not by bombs, but by the slow agony of starvation, a weapon of war just as cruel and calculated as a dangerous missile. And that's the reason why anytime you come here, you would always hear me say Netanyahu is a war criminal. And let's not forget why this supposed assassination story is buzzing 109 aid organizations, including some of the most respected on the planet, are shouting in unison that Gaza is sliding into full-blown famine. This isn't hyperbole. This is mass starvation policy. This is ethnic cleansing through hunger. Even a former military officer in Gaza distribution center relieved the horrors of civilians fleeing death or facing death just to get food. Before we watch the next clip, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for choosing to watch this video, but I need your help, frankly. Please like this video so others can see it. Let's beat the mainstream media as it tries to hide this news. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. God bless you.
The United States Army, who has been deployed to combat 12 times, 4 different wars. I never in my entire military career have I been a part of, allowed, or bystander to the use of force against unarmed innocent civilians. Ever. And I'm not going to do it now. There is no fixing this. This needs to be put an end to it.
What happened that made you leave? What was your red line?
There was a man who was on the ground. He was on his hands and knees, and he was picking up individual noodles. The UG security personnel wanted to get the Palestinians off the site. So they start yelling, hey, let's go, let's leave. This guy wasn't armed. He wasn't a threat. So this UG contractor sprayed an entire can of pepper spray, an entire can into this guy's face. That's lethal. I was standing next to these two women, and this contractor throws this stun grenade, and it lands in between me and them. This thing hit her, and she just drops, just lifeless collapse to the ground. It looked like she had been killed. And to me, that was I could not be a part of that anymore. The Israeli Defense Force engineers built the sites and decided where they would be. In reality, the sites put the population at a great disadvantage and put the population in danger.
You keep saying that the location of the distribution site are in areas which are far from the Palestinian population, and that creates one of the key problems. Can you explain why?
The sites were not set up in locations, nor were they set up in a way that was conducive to distributing or delivering humanitarian aid to a needy population. Thought of, oh yeah, the Palestinians can just come down here and get the aid. Well, 40-pound boxes, couldn't have vehicles, couldn't have cars. They're on foot. Most of them don't have shoes, no water, going through active war zone areas as the Palestinians were finishing getting the aid that was on the site. The UG Solutions personnel began shooting in their direction, shooting at them, shooting at their feet, shooting into the berms to get them to leave.
While you were in Gaza, you have spoken to some of the IDF soldiers. What have they told you?
Every single day, thousands of Palestinians coming in and out of my secure area that I have no control over. I don't have any accountability of. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're going after they leave. That's a huge risk, and the Israeli forces in the area do not like it. And I don't blame them. The IDF soldiers that are on the ground in southern Gaza don't like it. It takes away from their mission. It takes away from their security.
So yeah, you can understand why people like me are skeptical when Israel suddenly announces a Netanyahu nearly got assassinated story. It is not that we doubt someone's anger. Oh, there's plenty of that anger in Israel right now, especially this day towards Bibi and his far-right cronies like Smotrich and Ben Gvir, people whose brand of Messianic extremism has pushed even settlers to their limit. But it is the weaponization of the moment that smells of. The woman accused, reportedly terminally ill, is said to have expressed clear intent. If I'm going down, I am also going Bibi, she said. That's actually chilling, no doubt, but also deeply telling of just how frustrated Israeli society and fractured they are since Netanyahu started his war in Gaza. You don't get assassination plot brewing within your borders unless something has gone catastrophically wrong. Right at the core, people are tired of lies, tired of war, tired of dying for someone else's twisted ideology. LBC's James O'Brien isn't having any of it, and he just broke something down. Just watch this.
And now you have this thing that was always going to happen. I can't remember when we first used the word pariah. Pariah is not an inadequate word, actually, is it? I think we had a conversation, you and me, and before that, me and the producer. I think we had a conversation about whether it would be appropriate to use the word pariah. And then, unless my memory's playing tricks on me, quite a long conversation, actually, because it's a pretty hefty word, particularly for people who quite understandably and rightly see Israel as the place that they can go to when it starts again. I don't know what the Jewish inherited reaction would be to things like the Farage riots and senior politicians in their own country essentially seeking to defend firebombs and attacks upon the police because of the perceived foreignness or wrongness of innocent people. Nothing wrong with going after, or nothing wrong with wanting the law to go after with people that have done things wrong, but terrorising entirely innocent people because of a very successful attempt to tar everybody with a brush. That's hideous. Pogroms, probably unique status in the collective memory of Jewish people. And Israel is where you go when it happens again, as history has taught us it almost certainly will. So for those people, Benjamin Netanyahu's successful recasting of Israel as an international pariah, if it isn't already, will be a disaster.
I respect O'Brien, but now back to the woman. While she might have acted alone, her fury is part of a larger storm sweeping through Israel. We've seen protests rocking the street for a month now, not fringe protest, but massive turnouts from across Israeli society. Initially, it was about the judicial coup, then it became about Gaza war. Now it's raw, people shouting down Netanyahu, and not even for the hostages anymore, but for the slaughter of innocent people by Israeli terrorists in Gaza.
Really worry. I used to share with you the ludicrous commentary that would come into this program from people accusing me of anti-Semitism. I shared it because you don't live in this particular bubble. You probably didn't know that by saying killing babies is bad, please stop, you become anti-Semitic, or by saying destroying hospitals is bad, please stop, you become anti-Semitic. You may not have realised that, but these are people who have had an awful lot on the to contribute to public discourse, and they have lost. They've lost everything. They've lost all support. They've lost all sympathy. They've lost all credibility because they continue to claim things that are obviously not true. Most obviously, that the IDF is not undertaking ethnic cleansing or quite possibly genocide, that it does deliberately or sets out to try to minimise civilian deaths, that it is somehow honest in its dealings, while simultaneously killing aid workers, killing journalists, and not letting my colleagues across the UK media into the Gaza Strip to report on what is actually happening there. And that's, that's a tragedy in many ways, but it's a tragedy that pales in comparison to the tragedy of the Palestinian people.
Well, you can feel the moral center of Israeli society cracking under the weight of complicity. The people, many of them at least, are finally waking up to the blood in their hands. And that is terrifying for someone like Netanyahu, whose entire power structure rests on fear, division, and the perpetual demonization of Palestinians. O'Brien fired another salvo. And I really love this one.
Air raids underway at the moment on Deir al-Balah, the main hub for humanitarian efforts in the devastated territory. I'll say that again. There's no aid getting in. There's precious little aid getting into the territory. What aid is getting in there is being run in ways that everybody expert and experienced in this field considers to be profoundly inadequate, and Israel's just launched air raids on it anyway. 85 Palestinians were killed while seeking food aid on Sunday, and that is what I mean by becoming inured to it. You should cry, either actually or metaphorically. 85 Palestinians killed while seeking food aid on Sunday, in what one newspaper describes this morning as a grim and almost daily slaughter. The UN Food Agency, you see why I can't do this every day. I mean, rightly or wrongly. So I couldn't bear to. You couldn't bear to listen. The UN Food Agency, the World Food Programme, said the majority of those killed had gathered near the border fence with Israel in the hope of getting some flour from a UN aid convoy when they were fired on by Israeli tanks and snipers. Keir Starmer said yesterday the situation on the ground in Gaza is intolerable and on so many levels, and we make absolutely clear in all our exchanges with Israel and with other countries. I think there is a naivety sometimes on what I don't think we should call the left. I don't think that it is fair to say that everybody right-wing, everybody who identifies as right-wing is comfortable with this carnage. Everybody who identifies as Israeli isn't comfortable with this carnage. Everybody who identifies as Jewish or who was born Jewish is not comfortable with this carnage, is likely to consider it as indefensible as you do. I genuinely believe that, but there are some people who perhaps are naive, and another inadequate phrase, they're largely on the left, and they seem to think, or maybe they're right and I'm naive, that the UK government could have done more to stop this.
So, yes, the alleged assassination plot is real, but don't let that be the only headline you take away today. The most dangerous story is in the early protester with an RPG fantasy. It is the actual state machinery of Israel using food as a weapon. Its children dying with bloated stomachs and hollow eyes while the world debates whether it's a genocide or not. That's what they want you to forget. And the timing of the Netanyahu story, it may not be fake, but it's definitely convenient. Keep your eyes on Gaza. That is where the real crime scene is, and that is where it is happening right now, and we can't easily forget it. Thank you so much for watching. It truly means a lot to me. I hope to see you again in the next one. Until then, take care and God bless you.